everybody, hope you're all keeping well. As you can see, I'm at Cumminall Beach there, and I'm going to go down just to see if I can make an image. There's some lovely wash there, as you can probably see in here. So I'm going to be doing a series of videos, and I'm not a YouTuber or anything like that. I suppose they're for my website mainly. I actually do have a YouTube channel, so these videos are going to be linked to my website where they can be played obviously via YouTube. So the plan is every time I'm out, I'm going to bring my GoPro with me and just record my activities really. I've no intention of being a YouTuber. I just want people to know a little bit more about me. Who I am and how I take my photographs, the equipment I use, and you know, how I go about my photography, my thought process into taking images, and you know, the final results. So yeah, I'm going to go down onto the beach here now. So yeah, you can join me again there later on, as they say. I'll go down and set up and just see what kind of an image I can make. So what I'm doing here, even though I'm using a graduated filter on the sky, my image is still blown out. So what I'm having to do is I'm using one image for the foreground and a second image for the sky. So I'm using a brighter image obviously for the foreground and a darker image for the sky. So if you want to look at the screen there now, so that's the scene set up for the darker image on the sky. I'm going to take that. Obviously my foreground is quite dark, so I'm going to brighten the foreground, and that's my image for the foreground, nice and bright. So in post, I'll bring the two of those into Photoshop and I'll blend them together with what's called a gradient mask. It's actually one of the easiest processes in Photoshop to do. So yeah, that's it. No magic. It's just nice bit of light there now, as you can see on the beach as the water goes back out. So that really is what I'm trying to capture. I'm trying to capture that light, and that light is most intense now, just as the water goes back over the beach. So I have loaded my images up into my computer, and as you can see, they're all down here on the bottom of the timeline, and I have selected, I think it's these two, this one for the sky, probably this one actually, I like the light better here. So this one for the foreground and this one for the sky. So I'm going to bring the two of these into Photoshop, and I am going to edit them using a gradient mask. So before I do that, I need to bring the images closer together in dynamic range. So foreground here and sky from the other one. So I'm just going to make a few tweaks. And one of the first things I always do with my images is I might look at the color. So for the first thing is I set the white balance. So this allows me to see where the dominant color is. So there's a dominant blue. So I might just change that slightly. balance it up a little bit more so that we don't have as much blue. Maybe just tweak, we'll leave him alone. And reset here, and that gives me a much more balanced image color wise. I'll just dial those settings into the other image as well. So I'll dial those in 8633. So we now have the same white balance in the sky. Just going to open the shadows up slightly in the foreground image. Bring down the highlights. And we're going to take up the exposure slightly in this. And we're going to open the shadows, and that lightens the sky up. Might give a small touch of vibrance to that one, and the same in the other one. Okay. Tiny bit of clarity. Small bit of black. I'll leave the black alone. So now, two images are ready to go into Photoshop. Highlight the two of them, right click, edit in, Photoshop as layers. So here we have one image on top of the other. So that's the dark one, that's the bright one. So what I'll actually do is I'm going to switch them around. So the dark one's on top. And basically we just want to reveal the foreground here. My computer's acting up, I don't know why. 1 second up. I just have a little program here for freeing up space. So where is everything gone? View, there. So we put a layer mask into the top image. Put in a layer mask. We pick the gradient tool, and quite simply I need a black gradient on a white mask, and you just click and drag, and it reveals the image underneath. That's it. We've blended one image into another very, very simply. So you can see the sky is blowing out there. That worked quite well. And it's very important that you bring these images, you bring these areas that you're blending into, you bring them as close as you can. Obviously you could brush, you could brush this in. I prefer to do it with a gradient mask. It works for me. And that's it at the end of the day. It's when you're editing, it's whatever works for you. As regards a bit of further editing, we'll just see what we'll do. I'd like to maybe draw the eye here a little bit more. So we'll go into Camera Raw. I have plugins, I do use the plugins, but I prefer to kind of shape my images. And I prefer to shape them kind of using gradients, radial gradients. So I'm just going to put a gradient here. And we're just going to pump up the whites a small bit, just there. So I want to kind of bring the viewer across this way. Do another one. A bit of white, bit of clarity, another one here, a little bit of white, a little bit of clarity. Just bring out a bit of detail. I'm going to just maybe darken down the sky ever so slightly, just here. Not too much. Another gradient on the bottom. Bit of black, maybe a bit of white. It's just contrast work, really. Yeah, I'm making that stand out now slowly. Maybe a little bit of a brush, and we'll brush in some texture here. So I'm trying to basically just take the viewer, where is the clarity? Something I use sparingly. An overall vignette on the outside. So I tend to make a lot of vignettes. So what I'm going to do, I made one on the outside, so I'm going to make another one inside that, smaller again. 0.2 of an adjustment. Now we're really getting somewhere. And I'm going to make another one then. I'm going to push this one. Brush a small bit of light in here. And my adjustments, I don't go mad. I try and make them as subtle as I can. Hit OK. And if you go back into history, you can see that we had, even though we blended two images together, we still had a pretty flat image. And just by making those few adjustments and drawing the eye, we now have what I would call directional light. Yeah, and I sometimes like to use luminosity masks, and I use what's called Tony Kuiper. So I want to lift the blacks. I use Tony Kuiper's luminosity masks. So these are the blacks here. So anything that's white is basically selected. So I really just want to select these areas, the darker areas, and just do a slight lift on those. And it's a great way of adding. So usually what I do is I'll take up the white point, take down the midpoint, and that gives me nice contrast where it was slightly flat before. Yeah, I like that. Just flatten that. I flatten as I go. I'm just going to do the midtones now to see can I add any bit of contrast in the midtones. And the midtones are these guys here. Okay, so we'll try that. We'll do a selection. And we'll just do levels. And again, it's just about giving them a little lift. Yeah, oh, that's lovely now. I really like that. And I might have lost a bit of detail here now. So I will go back in and select the darks. I want this area, just this area alone. And what we will do is we will make a selection. I will do a curves adjustment just to brighten that area. Bring a little bit of detail back in. Actually, I won't do that. What I do is I bin that. I'm going to do an overall curves adjustment, just to make it easier, and invert. So I'm taking this area up to the brightness level I want to bring back. It's probably there. We make that disappear, invert it, Command and I, and I'm just basically going to brush in the detail, the amount of detail that I want here in this area. So it's a black mask, about 28%. I could do a selection and just select that area, but yeah, I will. So we'll just select that area so that we're not spilling over. So we've just got this area selected now. Select, and now when I brush my mask, I'm not spilling out over into the highlights or the midtones. Little bit of I don't know what's going on here. Might have been something in my camera. So yeah, just bringing back the detail there through a luminosity mask. I might try and just tidy this up. So flatten. So just to tidy up that blemish, we'll do a selection. Oh no, Command and D. So select. Okay, so just do a small selection there. Just to see, can I tidy that up? Hit delete. Fill it with content aware. Command and D. Yeah, that's not bad. You're not going to see that. Small little bit of cloning, maybe. Just to yeah, I haven't done a very good job on that, but you get the idea for blending the image. I do have another program that I sometimes use, and it's called Luminar. I quite like it actually. I use it for just little bits and pieces, and quite often it can give an image a nice lift at the end of it. So this is Luminar, and it's just one filter. I use bits and pieces from lots of software. I use Nik, I use Luminar, I use the Tony Kuiper panels there. I'm not kind of stuck to any one piece of software that I do all my editing with. So remind me later. So sometimes I just use this enhance here, and it just lifts an image, gives a little bit of pop, and we just turn that on and off. Yeah, and I just go with that. And that would be the image finished, basically. So, the Luminar unfortunately doesn't come in on a layer, so if you want to work on a layer, you have to you'll have to make a layer before you go into Luminar. So we'll just go to history window. I usually have all these open. I don't know where they disappeared to. So if we go into history, that was our starting point. And that's where we finished. So as I said in the video, it was this light that was attracting me as the water was washing back out. So even though the images were nice when the tide was fully in, for me this was what I was trying to capture on the day. I'm not too worried about that. This is just for demonstration purposes. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. As they say, like and subscribe. But really, these are really for my website. For anyone that goes into my website, my videos will be linked in from YouTube in the video section. So yes, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you found it beneficial and useful, I'd love if you'd leave me know. Thanks for looking and watching.